On August 12, 2026, New Delhi sent Beijing a blunt message. Border peace will shape the future of India China ties. The standoff is part of a wider shift. India is now tying border stability directly to relations with China. Military pressure, trade, and diplomacy are becoming one equation. After Galwan, the old separation between border disputes and economic ties is fading. Now, one question hangs over the relationship. Can pressure in the mountains avoid a wider confrontation? High in the Himalayas, two nuclear armed superpowers are locked in a chest to chest military standoff. Thousands of troops remain mobilized across the freezing ridgelines. In late July, Indian and Chinese patrol units met face to face at the remote Taktsing outpost in the upper Subansiri district of Arunachal Pradesh. When units intercept each other on dirt ridges like this, they rely on a mechanism known as the banner protocol. Instead of engaging in a firefight, opposing troops physically present banners to claim the territory and demand the other side retreat. While this specific encounter ended with the troops stepping back, the event triggered a severe reaction from New Delhi. The Indian government issued a blunt diplomatic warning to Beijing, establishing a strict new condition for the entire relationship. This flickering line is the line of actual control. Because the border lacks a formally signed agreement, boundaries remain a matter of perception, causing friction. For decades, both nations operated on an unspoken consensus, keeping border disputes isolated from economic trade. India's Ministry of External Affairs has now officially rejected that arrangement. New Delhi's position is that the overall trajectory of their bilateral ties is now directly determined by the state of affairs at the border. If peace is not maintained in the mountains, diplomatic and economic relations will suffer. By linking billion-dollar trade directly to the stability of remote mountain outposts, India is discarding the policy of compartmentalization that defined the relationship for decades. Looking at the regional map, China claims nearly all 90,000 square kilometers of Arunachal Pradesh. Beijing categorizes this vast area as Zangnan, treating it as an extension of South Tibet. The value of this land is not strictly territorial. This is the Tawang monastery, perched in the hills of Arunachal Pradesh. It serves as one of the most vital centers of Tibetan Buddhism outside of Tibet itself. By aggressively pushing its claims over this specific region, Beijing aims to assert control over the Tibetan social and cultural institutions that operate outside of its current borders. India has retaliated with a cartographic offensive. New Delhi recently updated its official maps, formally registering 27 new Indian names for mountains, passes, and lakes across the contested region. This battle over official naming conventions suggests the dispute is rooted in a competition over sovereignty and cultural identity that is fought on paper before the soldiers ever make contact. Historically, India's primary border defense was intentional neglect. Military planners reasoned that leaving the region undeveloped would naturally stall any potential Chinese military incursion. India has now reversed that strategy. The military is executing a rapid infrastructure push directly to the edges of the contested zones. You can see the scale of that engineering effort here. Workers are carving high altitude roads out of the rock, building the tunnels and bridges necessary to ensure troops can deploy to the front in minutes rather than days. As both nations pour concrete and mobilize heavy equipment, the vast buffer zones in the mountains shrink, forcing opposing patrols into frequent contact. The breaking point for this escalating proximity occurred in June 2020. A violent physical confrontation in the Galwan Valley resulted in the deaths of multiple Indian soldiers. The Galwan clash ended the era of passive cooperation, shifting the relationship into a state of active, strategic military competition. The legacy of Galwan proved that diplomacy can no longer bypass the reality on the ground. Hard infrastructure and troop deployments now dictate the terms of the relationship. Despite the military friction, the relationship also looks like this massive container ship. India and China maintain deeply entwined economic trade networks. The two nations also continue to engage on the global stage. Here, leaders like Xi Jinping and Narendra Modi sit at the same table during multilateral events like the BRICS summit to manage broader geopolitical objectives. To prevent border tension from severing those ties entirely, delegations regularly meet across tables like this one. This is the WMCC, a dedicated diplomatic backchannel negotiating to prevent military escalation. These backchannels operate under heavy pressure, especially with international events looming, including potential face to face meetings at the next BRICS summit in New Delhi. India is attempting a difficult balancing act, leveraging essential economic ties on the world stage while holding an unyielding military line in the mountains. India's current strategy rests on the belief that a firm military posture is necessary to convince Beijing to address the border dispute on Indian terms. This undemarcated line in the Himalayas has become the primary indicator for the stability of broader Asian diplomacy. Will India stance force a peaceful resolution to the border question, or are these mountain clashes the build up to a much larger conflict? Let us know how you see this standoff resolving in the comments below, and subscribe for more deep dives into the geopolitical lines shaping our world.